Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Eugene W. Sefton. Eugene W. Sefton worked two janitorial jobs as a 58-year-old man. He worked at the Sandusky School and at the Decatur County Rural Emergency Medical, REMC. He had retired from the printing business, having worked for 3 different Indiana newspapers in his day. He was an active member of the Indiana Typographical Union. He was born January 31st, 1916, to Nettie Mae Brown Sefton and Charles M. Sefton. Eugene graduated from Rushville High School in 1935. He owned a small, white, wood-framed cottage in the tiny community of Williamstown, Indiana. It's located roughly a 40-minute drive east of Indianapolis. It's between Greensburg and Muncie. Williamstown is located off Indiana State Road 3 on East County Road 800 North. The town is truly just a collection of a few houses on 2 short streets and doesn't really resemble a town as you might imagine. But the small homes and yards are nice and neat. Mature trees offer a nice bit of shade. It looks like a nice, quiet, little rural neighborhood. Eugene W. Sefton had grown up in the Rushville, Indiana area, but never married. He lived alone and followed a quiet routine of work and church going. I think he found purpose and solace in his work. When he didn't show up to the United Methodist Church on Sunday, September the 29th, his friends and neighbors were a little concerned. When the very reliable man failed to show up to either of his 2 jobs on Monday, September 30th, 1974, employers called his emergency contact, who was his cousin. Mrs. Luella Grau then called the police. Mr. Sefton's home was just over the county line in Rush County. Decatur County sheriffs had been called originally, and upon arriving saw that they would actually need to summon the Rush County Sheriff's Office. Once they arrived, they entered the home and found Eugene Sefton dead of approximately 30 stab wounds. He was laying on top of a paring knife with a 3-inch blade that officers believed was the knife that was used to kill him. There were no signs of a break-in. Does that mean that Eugene W. Sefton knew the killer? Possibly. Sefton also might have left his doors unlocked. Many people did in the country in the 1970s. A lot of times when it was time for us to go on vacation, we lived on a farm out in the boonies, and we would have to look through the kitchen drawers, the junk drawer, to find the house key because we never locked our doors except if we were going to be gone like a week on vacation. And so we would dig around, oh, there's the house key, and then we would, take care of that. So, and that was very common. The killer might have just crept in the unlocked back door with the intention of getting the car keys and stealing the car. Eugene Sefton had a very nice car. It was new. It might have been very tempting to someone looking to steal a car or just go for a joyride. His 1974 black vinyl over midnight blue Chevy Malibu had been observed leaving his home around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday night, September 28, 1974. It was later found in Fort Wayne off Interstate 69, hidden in a wooded, overgrown area. The car was actually found before Eugene W. Sefton's body was found, but because it hadn't yet been reported stolen, no immediate action was taken upon its discovery. It's unlikely then, in that case, that fingerprint evidence was collected and preserved, but that might not be true. Perhaps they did go ahead and collect fingerprint evidence and preserve it. Hopefully. Williamstown is in a very rural area. If you look at on the map, I'm a big fan of maps and I'm a big fan of Google Earth. It's still a very rural area. There's just not a lot nearby. If this murder was perpetrated by a stranger in that area, they might have come from State Road 3. The collection of houses known as Williamstown can be seen a short distance from that highway. Even in the dark, lights from the homes would have probably been visible. It seems to me more likely that that is someone uh, who lived in the area at the time, someone who maybe drove past the house in the evening a lot and saw that nice new car there. Maybe a young person who was impulsive, but I'm not sure. But there are some suspects that come to mind here, especially because of the amount of times that Eugene Sefton was stabbed. Two of them who come to mind are Ernest Richard Tope and Timothy Allen Heckert. In April of 1974, the pair abducted, assaulted, and murdered Cheryl Ann Felger. She was taken from Van Wert, Ohio, to Decatur, Indiana. She was stabbed roughly 60 times. They had been arrested in April and were awaiting trial. I believe that they were not free on bond. If they were in jail, then of course they wouldn't be responsible for this theft and murder. But if they were free, if they were out on bond, then they might be suspects here. So that would be something for an investigator who has access to those kind of records to check up on. Decatur, Indiana is near Fort Wayne, and the fact that the car was left there and it was in 1974 brought these two guys to mind. But I'm not sure if they were free on bond or jailed until their trial. So I'm not sure if they were loose in September of 1974. Another possible suspect who's nearby at the time is Galen W. Geathers, Jr. He lived nearby in Greenfield, Indiana, and in 1971 was the last person to see Susan K. Hall, Moore dancer, alive. The two co-workers had gone to Indianapolis to test drive a car. I believe Susan asked him to go with her because he was a mechanic and knew all about cars. As soon as Susan withdrew $5,000 from the bank to pay for the car, she then disappeared. Galen Geathers returned the car that they were test driving to the dealership after several hours, suspiciously. Susan was found shot to death months later. Even though the caliber of the gun used matched a gun that Geathers was known to have owned, no charges were filed. Even though he was the last person to see her alive, no charges were filed. Even though his stories had more holes than Swiss cheese, no charges were filed. And Galen Geathers was hit and killed by a train a few years later. But he's still alive during September of 1974, and we know that he is impulsive and makes terrible decisions, because I believe he killed Susan, but that's just my opinion. Did investigators save any evidence in Eugene W. Sefton's case? Was any fingerprint evidence collected from the home or from the car? Did they preserve that knife? Sometimes a knife gets slippery and a killer can cut themselves. His DNA may be on that knife. Was there someone living in the area who was suspicious to locals at the time? Maybe someone knows something. Maybe they saw something or heard something that only made sense later. Maybe they felt loyal to someone, but no longer feel that same way today. If you have a tip that could help solve Eugene Sefton's murder, please call the Indiana State Police Cold Case Investigators at 765-778-2121 or 1-800-527-4752. Rest in peace, Eugene Sefton.